Religious texts are hugely important for a lot of people. Religion in general is a hugely important thing across the world, and it's one of the few consistencies that ties together most societies in human history and in the current world. Now, while there are a lot of problems with religion, it is also important to look on the bright side, in the words of Monty Python. A result of which is the religious morals that are instilled through these religious texts. A lot of life lessons can be learned from this, and a lot of effects that it has on people are generally positive. Now, yes, while there are downsides, while small groups of larger religions can be problematic, that should not be a way to discolour the entire religion or religion as a whole. So, leading on from this, it's important that we then look at, potential passages or ways of guidance. See, when in life you're religious, you'll look at, say, your selected religious text, or maybe not even yours, just a religious text in general for guidance. In most cases, it is the religious text of the individual because that is the thing that's most likely on the forefront. However, not always the case. Now, I've got to overstipulate that. Let's get into what I actually mean. So, when, say, for example, the individual is going through stress or ways of feeling a specific way, looking at maybe a Bible or a Torah or a Quran or whatever your religious text of choice is, you can really find some useful ways of dealing with this stress, dealing with this anxiety, seeing how people, in times gone by, as most of these religious texts are at least a few hundred years old, how they dealt with it. And while some of the advice will be, very theistic, and you might be an atheist, or you might not believe in that particular iteration of God or gods, you can really kind of extrapolate from that ways that these individuals have overcome their stress, their anxiety, or whatever specific circumstance you're in. Now, why is this important? Well, humanity has got to a point now where a lot of our problems have been the problems of our predecessors. Humans haven't evolved for a very, very long time in any significant way. Now, yes, society has changed, but a lot of the underlying issues, a lot of the underlying stresses, anxieties, problems in general have existed for a long time. And so being able to look past that, looking past the actual problems of society on a surface level, and looking down the actual problem itself, closer to the root, you can find that these religious texts, this ancient knowledge or knowledge of yesteryear, is actually very, very useful to look at. Do you have to be religious to read these texts as well? Well, no. Again, it's most likely on the forefront of your mind that you read the religious text that is most apparent to you. If you're, even a Satanist, you will have your religious texts in and around you. If you're maybe an agnostic, but your surroundings are based in Islam, then the Quran is probably the most accessible thing for you. And it doesn't have to be. I mean, if you're looking for specific spiritual texts, you've got the World Wide Web. You're already here, evidently. Being able to look for, good remedies from yesteryear through this, looking for, Quran verses, Bible verses, maybe other religious texts that are, equally as old, if not older, and looking for the guidance in there can be really useful. And sometimes, if you are a Christian, and this is not sacrilegious, at least not in Catholicism, to read other religious texts, maybe take guidance, take a different point of view, because the Eurocentric model of dealing with problems may be different to that is from the Middle East, or from, even, India, or, Brazil, or wherever these other religious texts originate from. You can find different ways that are societally different to dealing with them. Now, why religious texts specifically? Because you could just look at the ways of life or just old historical documents, ways that people have dealt with them. Well, at least the way that religious texts are presented is that through guidance. And so it's easier to then learn the lessons and follow the guidance of these religious texts, because that's kind of the point of them. So if you're reading just a general historical document, the point might be misconstrued, or it might be trying to present it in a different light. Now, you could argue that yes, it's a religious text, so it's trying to promote the religion, it's trying to promote the theistic framework in which the religion works, and you'd be completely right in some circumstances. However, again, if you're an atheist or religious in some way, you could see that as God or God speaking to you, or you could see it through the lens of this is human tribulations that have already occurred, and this is the solution. This is the way to get through it. Now, you can view this from a very logical lens if you are maybe a logical atheist or a logical theist and say, this is, God's guidance, or this is just the way humans have dealt with it, and they've written it down, and it doesn't have to be religious in any way. It doesn't have to be going against your specific form of religion either. Unless you're obviously very literal in your fundamentalist understandings of your religion. Having a slightly more open mind, not saying that that isn't open-minded, could be really helpful for the solutions you're looking for. And certainly if you view religion through the lens of the elephant argument, so there was a philosopher, I forget her name, I'm terribly sorry for this, who suggested that religion is like having an elephant and everyone is blindfolded feeling this elephant. And so what you end up having is, say for example, someone gets the tail of the elephant and they say, this is Vishnu. And someone else gets the tusk of the elephant and says, this is Allah. And someone else gets the trunk of the elephant and says, this is Jehovah. And, you get the idea. Everyone is technically correct according to this philosopher. We're just all experiencing different iterations of the same form of God. And so if you can use this as a theist to kind of understand that all these religious texts are still God or gods or whatever the framework you personally believe in, that are guiding you, even if it's the universe, it doesn't even have to be theistic in the traditional sense. You could say that this is guidance from the guidance system that you seek. Even atheists can use it, because that's still a guidance system. You believe potentially in just the raw science or raw logic, the cold hard logic of the world, and say, well, logically this book is telling me to do this or giving guidance in this way, and these are the steps one could take in order to reach the conclusion, to relieve the stress that you're under, or to act in the way that you require guidance in. Obviously stress was the example used because stress is a pretty common human reaction to events. Life, no matter how absurd it might seem at times, is fairly stressful. And so looking at remedies through historical documents, through religious documents, correction, is a really good way to do it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. Bit of a ramble. Apologies for that. Master. Cheers. And cheers again for watching. Right, bye-bye. Actually, before the video ends, just wanted to say thanks for the support on the last philosophy video. I'm not sure why I did so well, but cheers. Much love. Right. What's that?